So we have previously in other chapters learned that the government or the union government has three organs: the legislature, the executive, and the judiciary. So we've talked about the legislature and we know that it makes laws. The executive enforces these laws and the judiciary punishes those who violate these laws. Today we'll be learning about the executive or the law implementing or enforcing body. These organs together maintain the law and order of the society and make sure that the government can focus on the welfare of the people. Let us learn about the executive. So you must have heard about the name of a CEO of certain big companies like Amazon or Reliance or any such company. Now a CEO of a company is the chief executive officer. So anyone who takes important decisions or takes charge of the administration of a company, an organization or anybody is the CEO of that body. He is the executive. So the executive runs the organization. So just like the CEO is responsible for maintaining and leading the company, we need a CEO or an executive in our country as well, which will develop the country and enforce the laws of the country. So in India, we have the parliamentary system or the parliamentary form of government. And the executive has two heads. It is the president and also the prime minister. You must have heard that in countries like the USA, there is a presidential system in which there is only one head, which is the president. He is all powerful and he is the head of the state and also the head of the government. But in India and certain other countries like UK and Germany, we have the parliamentary system. What happens in the parliamentary system is that there is a head of the state and a head of the government. So, what is the difference between these two? The head of the state has mainly ceremonial or formal functions. He has nominal powers. And in India, the head of the state or the ceremonial head is the president, while the head of the government is the real head. The real head is responsible for running the government. In India, we have the prime minister as the real head, who along with his council of ministers runs the government. So, in the parliamentary system, there is a head of the state, who is the president, and a head of the government, who is the prime minister and his council of ministers. But before we go any further, let us see what the constitution says about the executive. So the constitution says that there shall be a council of ministers with the prime minister at its head to aid and advise the president, who shall in the exercise of his functions act in accordance with such advice, provided that the president may require the council of ministers to reconsider such advice, either generally or otherwise, and the president shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after such reconsideration. This is a very difficult thing to understand. So let us break it into two parts and decode it. So the first part says that there shall be a council of ministers with the prime minister at the head to aid and advise the president, who shall in the exercise of his functions act in accordance with such advice. So the president has all his responsibilities and duties to execute, but the decision of what to do or when to do that thing is not his own. The prime minister and the council of ministers will advise the president on how he shall act. So the president has to act in accordance to the advice or the will of the prime minister and his council. However, the second part says that the president may require the council of ministers to reconsider such advice. So if the president feels that the advice he has received from the prime minister and the council of ministers is not right, he might ask the council of ministers and the prime minister to reconsider it. But it also says that the president shall act in accordance with the advice tendered after reconsideration. So when the advice has been reconsidered by the Prime Minister and the Council, the President is bound to accept it. Do you know that in 2006, the 11th President of India, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, sent back a bill to the Council of Ministers. The then ruling party, the Indian National Congress, had passed the Parliament Prevention of Disqualification Amendment Bill and sent it to the President for his assent. But Dr. Abdul Kalam said that the Parliament should reconsider certain provisions because it wasn't fair, just or reasonable. He didn't agree with certain facts like how the bill interpreted the office of prophet and also certain other things. So he sent back the bill to the government. This opened up various conversations about the power of the President. We generally think that the President is the nominal head or the ceremonial head and he doesn't have much real powers. But after this incident, we had a lot of conversations and narratives. We learned that the President is not at all powerful in front of the Prime Minister and the Council of Ministers. But it must also be noted that he can send back the bill for reconsideration only once, and the President is bound to act in accordance to the advice of the Prime Minister and his Council. The President is the first citizen of India. He is the head of the state. The President is also the supreme commander of the armed forces. So he is the head of the management of the Indian National Army, the Indian Navy and the Indian Air Force. Do you know where the President of India resides? The President of India resides at the Rashtrapati Bhavan. Do you know who is the supreme commander of the armed forces? Is it the Prime Minister, the Chief Minister, the President or the Vice President? Of course, it is the President of India. Let us recap what we have learnt till now. So the organs of the government or the organs of the union government are the legislature, the executive and the judiciary. We talked about the executive. In India, we have a parliamentary system where the executive has two heads. One is the President, who is the head of the state, and the second is the Prime Minister with his Council of Ministers who form the real head or the head of the government. This is how the executive branch of the government of India works. We'll talk about the powers and functions of the President and Prime Minister in our upcoming videos. Don't forget to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell icon. You can also register for free at deltastep.com or download the DeltaStep app to get access to all our 5,000 plus amazing videos as per your school syllabus. Master each topic with our adaptive practice technology. Get million plus questions with step-by-step solutions and unlimited mock tests. Get all your doubts resolved instantly. Learn via games and win amazing prizes like PlayStations and iPads. So at DeltaStep, learning is not just fun and easy, it is rewarding too. So register for free now.